The San Diego real estate market is red hot and has been now for what, a decade plus. So how do you take advantage of the situation if you're a seller in this market? Tyler Hagerla is here. Talk to us about it. How you doing, buddy?
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm a seller. Market's hot. As far as I know, these houses sell themselves, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, it does,
Common myth.
I guess anybody can sell a house, they say, right? But
Is it really true though? Because I mean, for me, what I see, when you have lots of offers, that means the listing agent's doing a lot of work.
there is more work, yeah. I think if you don't have the experience and know how to handle that type of activity, you're liable just to take the offer that just looks the best in that moment and not properly leverage the seller's advantage in that case, right? So, the question I always get is, well, I have all this equity, and if I sell, where do I go? That's everybody's dilemma at this point. And so, helping them figure out how to liquidate that equity is, the process that I definitely have a lot of skills in, because we're doing a lot of, sell-buy scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always sell-buy here. It's sell-buy out of state, or, we are seeing a lot of people, shifting in the county as well.
Yeah, a lot of sell-buys. And I think that is what is holding up the inventory in the market. It's the catch-22.
Yeah, totally. And you're starting to see people figure out some of those scenarios kind of coming out of COVID. People are kind of taking stock of where they want to be for the next, however long, 5-10 year plan. And so you're starting to, this time of year, you'll see more listings popping up.
You think so?
Yeah, people figuring out, how to take advantage of it, because the neighbor down the street just set a record with their sale, and my house is nicer than their house. So, that's the conversation.
So what do you do then? Like, what are specific things, let's say, that you would advise a seller on, or that you might do for a seller to help them maximize the situation?
Yeah, so my skill set is figuring out what their best case scenario is, okay? So I would sit down and really figure out what is that next move could look like, or how, where would they go? Some sellers are like, well, I'll just figure it out. I'll go rent something. Figure out that process. So when I come into the house and I'm looking at it from a buyer's perspective, because I want to, enhance that buying experience of this home, but also do it within the seller's comfort zone, because they may not be willing to do some of the things that I may suggest. And so getting to know what their capabilities are along with their best case scenario allows me to figure out, what type of, service we provide as far as, getting the house ready. And there's some houses it's very little. You walk in and, man, I could put a sign in the yard tomorrow and start marketing. And some houses takes months, and so that's the skill set. And I've built a team around me to help facilitate getting, whether it's paint, cleaning, all the above. It all, enhances that property, because the houses that are selling $100,000 or, crazy numbers over the list price are the ones where buyers walk in and they see very little that they need to do.
Yeah.
So
it justifies the high price,
Yeah.
right? Because I think you see buyers being more aware now. Like I've had a lot of buyers recently who said, well, this is the top we're going to offer, and if someone else wants it for more, they can have it.
Yeah.
And I've heard that more now than I have in the last couple of years, where buyers just said, you know what, we've figured out where we're at and what we believe the market is worth. But when you get that house that's perfect, that's redone, or that's set up, it's turnkey and dialed in, there's so little inventory to begin with. There's almost none of that inventory. And you can really create a frenzy where buyers can justify the savings of money, the savings of time to update a home. It's really, really valuable. I think when people are looking to sell their home, one of the things we forget is that it's like, imagine taking something else in your house that's used and go putting it on the shelf in the market. Because that's what you're doing with your house. You've lived in this home, it's something you've been using every day, and now you're going to go put it on the shelf. So, what are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do if you take your golf clubs and go try to sell them at golf discount? You need to clean them up, right? You can't just take them as they are and go throw them on the rack.
Yeah, and that's where I definitely come in. And I kind of have a boutique concierge style of service when I'm working with my sellers. I lock arms with them. I really facilitate that process. And so that's really the first step in the consultation. Figuring out, again, what they're capable of, because I don't want to give a seller things that are going to completely overwhelm them, because I'm in a seller's market. They may not need to do some of these little things. If it was harder to sell homes, maybe we do need to, ramp up a couple of the things. But a lot of buyers will come in and want to do some of their own stuff to the home anyways.
Right.
So I'm finding where that maximum return is with the effort level.
Yeah,
So,
that's super crucial. And by the way, I want to make this very clear to everyone, before you start making improvements on your home that you plan to sell, definitely get a consultation first. There's a lot of things that you might think that, well, I want to fix this, so I'm going to spend the 10 grand, or I'm going to get solar before we don't do any of that stuff until you've had a consultation first and you know exactly what is my ROI on this investment. And a lot of times that stuff is in the kitchen, the bathrooms, or the curb appeal from,
or even just some of the deferred maintenance. Like I try to limit the things that are going to pop up in a home inspection too. So that way, once we do get a nice price for the home and they do a home inspection, we're not going to get renegotiated on things that are encumbered in a home inspection. So it could just be, getting some of the plumbing, into a state that's not in a disrepair and things like that. So again, I have, I've been doing this for almost 13 years, so I kind of have a guy for everything. And when I need them, because a lot of times in this market, I'll get a listing appointment on a Friday, and we want to be going that next week or the following week. And so we got to work pretty quickly. That way we can capitalize, because right now with the interest rates kind of going up, you're seeing not only the buyers kind of frenzying to buy, but also the sellers trying to make sure they get their houses, that if they're thinking about selling, they want to do it sooner than later. So that's kind of the scenario I'm running into quite a bit right now.
How far ahead does it make sense to start doing those kinds of consultation and walkthroughs? If somebody knows, like for example, hey, we know we're going to be here for another year, and then when our son graduates from high school, he's going to go to this college, and we're going to move back this place. So how far in advance does it make sense to take a look at these things with the market changing so much?
Well, a lot of times sellers think they have to get the house like ready for me to come see it. And I'm like, no, I need to just come in here and because sellers will think that there's this issue or this that is preventing them from listing the house. Well, in fact, those aren't even the things I'm worried about. I'm worried about this, this, and this. And so then I can create a roadmap. If they have some direction, then they're not in their mind thinking, oh, this is overwhelming, this is too much. And that's where I can come in and kind of lay that out. So I would say sooner than later, because selling the house is one thing, but wherever they are deciding to buy, whether it's out of state or even here, it's not easy being a buyer. So if I can really stack all your chips, to where you have a strong buying position on that side of it, then to your point, when it comes time to, really go after a property that you love, you can push your chips in the middle and you're a strong, player at that point. It's, and to your point too, you get it, oh, I don't want to be in a bidding war, or I don't want to, get caught up in the frenzy. And I tell my buyers that, let me take that on. Let me take the competition on my shoulders. You just simply decide if you like the house or not. Then I'll try to figure out what's the price, the real price, because the listing price isn't always the real price, right? Let me see what I can do to figure out what that real price is. And if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it's the house for you, then we're going to go after it, and we're going to have a really good shot at getting it. I think so often, no matter what, if it's a nice house in San Diego County, there's going to be, more than 2 people wanting to buy it. And so,
most likely,
running from that scenario gets you beat out, and then you get frustrated, and then it takes you a few houses before you're finally ready to do it. And sometimes that's the process, and I'm okay with that. Maybe it takes losing out on a house or 2 before you understand what that competition feels like. And we try not to limit that, we try not to lose out on too many houses, but the house that you end up getting is always the right house. It's always meant to be. That's real estate. And I think it goes hand in hand, even if you aren't selling a house and you're a buyer, really getting, what I call buying power, stacking those chips, getting the strong approvals, understanding what, that monthly looks like. So if I do show you a house that you're going to have to stretch for, you know what you're stretching for. You know what that looks like. And so those are my skills that I can definitely help with navigating this hot market.
Yeah. So when you are, looking at that timeline, basically sooner the better, because now you have a longer runway to make changes or make adjustments.
It gets sellers out of their head, just to say, hey, to your point, before you do some big improvements or go get a solar lease or, do things that may not even bring value to your home, that's where, I can come in. And it's a low pressure situation. It's simply me having a conversation about what the market's doing and what buyers are looking for.
Isn't it a shame how little solar does for the value of a home?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that I'm the messenger who gets shot on that a lot.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that happens to you too, but
I mean, there's times where solar brings value. It's when you own it, you
Right.
know, and there may even be value in having a solar lease, so your monthly payment's lower. But when you're a buyer and you're coming into a new home, and now all of a sudden you have a payment that you never signed up for, you never, you didn't ask for that.
right.
It just doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good to buyers. Sometimes the solar leases or the power purchase agreements, yeah, you save money, and you didn't have to put money up front to get that, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the rub. And so, yeah, I've become quite a solar expert. You
have to be.
And there's a lot of things that, it's funny, this job isn't just about selling houses all the
Definitely
time.
not. What do you think right now, just to go timely for a second, like what's the number one tip for sellers right now as far as like if you could just blanket one thing, one thought, one item,
That's a good one.
what is the number one thing? Like, hey, don't miss out on this.
I do think you need to your point earlier, anybody can sell a house right now. I mean, yeah, that's probably true. But I think getting with someone that really knows how to capitalize on the market, and I think what I've been able to do is, with my experience, because I've sold over 80 houses in the past 24 months. I mean, that's COVID houses, right? Like that.
Wow.
That's the hot market, and being patient. Being somewhat patient through the process to not get too caught up in the frenzy on the seller side is going to maximize your position, because there are options when you sell, and there's a lot of opportunity to maximize that position. It's not always money. It could be seller in possession, stay in the house for 90 days for free. Oh, that's an option.
Yeah.
Sellers don't really know.
I know.
And if you don't have an agent that's familiar with writing these contracts to give you that power or in position, then I think that to me is probably the biggest thing, is knowing how to what's going on in this market. And I know what's going on because last year I helped 31 buyers buy homes. That's quite a few people that we got their offers accepted. So I know what it takes to get offers accepted. I know what good offers look like. And so on the selling side, that creates an advantage for me as well, because I know what buyers are willing to do.
Yeah, the seller in possession and the SPRP. I think if sellers knew that existed, it was just
Yeah.
a standardized form that, hey, you can accept an offer from someone contingent upon you finding a replacement home and take all the pressure off.
Sure.
I think if sellers knew about that, I think you'd have a lot more homes on the market.
And when we do those, so at that point, normally a seller doesn't have a contingency, right? They don't have a back out if they can't find that house. So we build that into the contract. And 100% of the time, we find that house in a matter of weeks, like maybe even days, because all of a sudden, now that you have your house in position to sell, now you have buying power,
Yeah.
right? And so the house that pops up in the neighborhood that you love, and you're maybe competing with some other offers, but there's a cost to getting your equity out, right? Maybe you do have to pay a little bit higher to get that house, but now all of a sudden you only have to move once. What's the cost of moving twice? There's all these different dynamics that, if you know how to structure contract properly, you can get to that best case scenario for your seller.
Tremendous stuff. Tyler, thank you so much for coming in,
All
man.
right,
It's great to see
yeah,
you.
I
Really
could talk
appreciate
about
it.
this all day.
Yeah, we could. And, maybe we should. Maybe you should get a consult with Tyler today. Hey, if you're looking to sell your home, do the right thing. Be smart about it. Be smart. Just because it's a great market doesn't mean it's automatically going to work out perfectly for you. Hiring a good professional is super crucial. Share this video with your friends. Let's help make them smarter than everyone else.